Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Jedi Talk. I'm your host, Brad Hughes.
Hello there. I'm your co-host, Evan T. Boucher.
The Batu boys are back.
Back at it.
It's been a little bit, but we're back in the action, and we have a fantastic show. Full disclosure, we haven't recorded it yet.
So we don't know if it's fantastic.
I'm assuming it's fantastic. So on the show today, we have a very awesome guest. The very prestigious, I almost said pretentious, the very prestigious Jim
not
Hill
pretentious.
of Jim Hill Media, co-host of the Disney Dish with Lynn Testa podcast, co-host of a lot of stuff. He does a Star Wars podcast called Looking at Lucasfilm, where they kind of they're the only, I've said it on the last show, only podcast I listen to, I think I said it, maybe I edited it out.
Consistently anyway.
Was Looking at Lucasfilm because it's the podcast with Dan Z that he does from Coffee with Kenobi, and it's a very different type of show than what we do. And so he's going to come on the show again. He's been on the show a few times, and we're going to talk to him about some Galaxy's Edge stuff, so that's pretty cool. But before we do all that, we wanted to hop in for a moment and do some news. So there's been a few changes over at Galaxy's Edge, which, congratulations, you're back in the club.
Finally.
They are actually, I don't know if this is a big deal or not, but you kind of think it's a bigger deal than I do. Now you've got me warned if I'm like underselling it. But they're closing Ronto Roasters to make room for extra seating capacity at Docking Bay 7.
See, now go ahead.
They're not closing it as in like it will no longer be that.
Exactly.
It's just not going to be its own independent self-serve stand.
That's what I misread it as. So I was freaking out. Like, I can't buy Ronto anymore. Like, what do I go? Do I go buy Tippy Up now? Like,
No, from what I understand, they're going to have it just be expanded seating. So like you buy the Ronto wrap
in Docking Bay 7,
and then that's like the
and then you can
area.
go sit by the pod racing engine still.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it, but I was freaking out at first. Like, I can't buy Ronto anymore.
Well, you know they're not going to do any construction back there.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So I don't. If anyone, they're really loud out there. That's really annoying.
Hey, kids.
They're not kids.
Get off my
they're
lawn.
Adults that like they do like a non-profit thing, so they're good people. But like, shut up.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's interesting. First change to Galaxy's Edge, really.
Yeah, it really is, actually.
I mean, other than Rise of the Resistance opening and, a few things not opening.
That's small. That doesn't matter,
But interesting, man. I wanted to bring up a few more things real quick before we get this going. Star Wars Rebels has come out, and I am obsessed.
Squadrons.
Did I say Rebels?
You said Rebels.
Dang it.
But
Star
there's
Wars
Rebels
Squadrons.
characters involved.
Yeah, Hera's there.
Yeah.
Ray Sloan is in it.
Right. And
which is amazing.
I'm almost finished with the first book in the Aftermath series, which I know you're not a huge fan of.
No, but she's awesome.
She's the best part of that series.
100%.
So far. And
I'm
excited to see her in that game.
Yeah, it's cool.
I was texting a friend that bought the game and are playing it, and they didn't watch any of the trailers. So they were like, yo, guess who's in this game? And I was like, Wedge, Hera,
I didn't know Wedge was in it.
And they're like, whoa, how'd you know? I'm like, trailers.
I didn't know they would.
They're like, spoilers? And I'm like, no, it's in the trailer. Like, come on.
Yeah, I didn't know that Wedge was in the game either. I didn't watch that part of the trailer, I guess.
Hera and Wedge and Sloan.
It's cool seeing Hera.
And an actual good Trandoshan.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
weird because I watched a little gameplay today, and he still sounds and looks evil as hell.
Yeah.
But he's a good dude. He's a rebel.
I like the Trandoshans. I think they're a cool species.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed, dude. I've been playing it. I wouldn't say nonstop, but every chance I get, I'm playing. I'm like 15 missions in, I think.
Okay. I've only seen like 15 minutes of actual gameplay. So, like, do you like Rebellion or Empire better? Do you have
I like the Rebellion ships because I can see out of them better.
Right, that would make sense. The TIE Fighter window is so condensed and small.
It's terrible,
versus
man.
an X-Wing or A-Wing cockpit.
Yeah. It's if you don't think it makes a big difference, you're crazy. Like, if you haven't played the game, it makes a big difference.
And that's not even in VR. That's just on your TV.
Yeah.
In VR, I'd much rather have X-Wing or
It's
A-Wing.
one of those games where I kind of do the same thing with Halo, where I have to be like really close to the screen because like you're shooting at a ship that's 1,500 meters away.
And it's like an inch
and
tall.
you can't see it.
Yeah, if that.
So you have to be like up close on it.
Now, does playing it in the Rebel pilot jumpsuit help?
It does not. It impedes.
Doesn't?
You can't hear anything. But it's fun.
Wait, do you put the helmet on too? Does the helmet help?
Helmet might help. I don't know.
You should put that on.
It's awesome. But we're going to stop right here. We're going to jump into this interview with Jim Hill. Thank you guys so much for listening. Enjoy the show. We'll see you on the back end of this with some more stuff we're going to cover. Today, we are joined by a very special guest returning to the show for a third time, I think. Second time, third time, something like that. The king of cliffhangers, Jim Hill. Jim Hill, how's it going, my friend?
King of cliffhangers. Okay,
Bro, you are the king of cliffhangers. If you listen to a Disney Dish podcast, like
even the
this
last
week,
one about the princesses, the Disney princesses, I'm just like,
promise
give us
you.
the ending, give it to
promise
us.
you, you're the king of cliffhangers, dude. I promise you that.
Wow, if you are hanging on
I
the
am.
tail end of the Disney princess story,
I am.
we need to get you a hobby.
I think you're underselling how good of a storyteller you are, Jim.
But you're also right. I do need some help. So
Evan does need help. But that being said,
I thought you were going to say the king of Cliff Bars.
The king of Cliff Bars? No, definitely not.
All right, that I could get behind.
I wanted to have you on the show because as a Star Wars podcast and huge fans, me and Evan both, of Galaxy's Edge, we kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit about a few things from Galaxy's Edge. Kind of a past, present, and future of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and just kind of go from there. So my first thing, every good story starts at the beginning, right? So when did this whole thing kind of unfold? I mean, was this a thing where Imagineering was kind of getting like, hey, Disney's considering buying Lucasfilm, let's just have some ideas written down for what we could add into Star Wars at the Disney parks and just kind of see what happens? Or is this something that came much later?
Well, I mean, look, when Disney announced back in, this was January of '85. I mean, the very first, shareholders meeting where, Eisner and Wells have only been on the job 3 months. And, they're then talking about, hey, we just got this deal with George Lucas and he's going to be working with Imagineering and we're going to do a Star Wars ride. But at that point, literally this thing is called Starbus. So it's like, ooh, okay, boy, that sounds like fun. But as they develop, I mean, and the whole notion was that George was going to work with Imagineering in a very hands-on sort of way. I mean, we got EO, which gave sort of a sense of the kind of the Venn diagram he was going to work. There was also at one point a plan to build basically a Lucas mini land in Tomorrowland. It was going to actually, the funny thing is they were going to house it inside of, I don't know if you've ever seen the version of the Land Pavilion for Epcot where it's like 7 little biodomes that look like crystals.
Yeah, in fact, that's actually in Doc Ondars. They have that represented.
The, like, Tony Baxter looking design?
Yeah, the Tony Baxter thing.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
You're speaking our language.
But and inside of that was going to be the Star Wars coaster, where you could pick whether or not you wanted to go to the light side or the dark side. I want to say there was going to be the equivalent of the Cantina show. But again, the problem was that Disney made this deal with George during a period where they literally had nothing going on. But if you go 88. Suddenly here's Roger Rabbit, 89 is Little Mermaid, and suddenly it's like, hey, we can kind of do our own stuff, and thanks, George. We'll be happy to, sort of franchise Star Tours and take it around the world. But I got to talk with Mark Eads about the original plan. He was the Imagineer actually flew over to England to check out the Ready Fusion simulators that were used to power Star Tours. And the plan always was that every 3 years they were going to introduce a new ride film. So by the end of year 10, when you went to Disneyland, there were 4 different simulators, each doing a different ride. And so, if you were a Star Wars fan, you could basically spend the day in line there, just, get off the trip to, Endor and, get in the queue to go to Hoth. If we jump ahead now to 2012, the Imagineering, it was kind of like that Avatar deal with James Cameron, which happened the year previous. Imagineering had no idea that Iger was talking with Lucas, particularly about buying, Lucasfilm outright and then getting access to the characters and all that.
That's a big surprise.
So they had no idea until the purchase itself?
Yeah, and then suddenly it's like, ooh, okay, all this stuff we've wanted to do. But, then it gets interesting because, remember, George, it was kind of a 1-2 punch. George decides that he's going to sell Lucasfilm. Again, they have Iger and Lucas have the infamous conversation inside of the Hollywood Brown Derby on the day that the Star Wars The Adventures Continue is opening at Disney's Hollywood Studios. They're having breakfast before the grand opening, and Iger floats the idea, to the effect of, would you consider selling? And George is like, I'm not there yet, but if when I do, I will, I'll definitely think about selling it to you guys. But again, so you get another year where George is now thinking about, okay, I'm tired of dealing with a toxic fandom. Yeah, I'll get this ready to sell. Yeah,
me too.
And yeah, but that's the thing. What's interesting is first he reaches out to Carrie, Harrison, and Mark, and lets them know, hey, I'm thinking of doing another trilogy, and I'm thinking of selling to Disney. But George felt like he could get more money from Disney if he came through the door, not just with the company and its film library and its characters, but if he also had the roadmap for the next trilogy. And so, he spent, all that time writing, outlines for the three films. And again, had already gotten the actors on board. And it was only then that he approached Disney. And what was kind of interesting is that he wanted, remember Disney got Pixar for $7.4 billion. They got Marvel for $4 billion. And Lucas knew, he knew he wasn't going to get Pixar money, but he wanted, just for his own ego, to have, Disney spend more to acquire Lucasfilm than they had to acquire Marvel. And Iger was like, had kind of a hard conversation with George, the effect of, you're really, I get 5,000 characters when I buy Marvel.
That's a valid point. It's valid.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Iger had enough respect for George Lucas that it's like, okay, well, I'll tell you what, that's, we bought Marvel back in 2009 and we're buying you in 2012. And, he turns to the accountant and said, I need him to feel better. So instead of, $4 billion, Disney paid 400 billion and like 500,000, so,
just enough.
To the effect of, just enough that he had bragging rights. That they
okay.
You spent more on you than we spent on Marvel. Okay,
fair
you
enough.
feel better.
You win.
Yeah.
You beat Stan Lee.
Oh,
there you go.
Congrats.
But again, now remember, also in the same window of time, because George is stepping away, but he wants somebody to manage the franchise. He starts talking with Kathleen Kennedy, who, and Kathleen's a wonderful producer. Kathleen's a wonderful behind the scenes, make sure the project runs smoothly kind of person. So, strictly from I looking for somebody who can, it's a history already of working with Disney, because hell, Kathleen, geez, as far back as Arachnophobia, she had a working relationship with Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was, Iger knew her as a known quantity, so absolutely, I work with Kathleen. And so now, but right from the get-go, it's kind of a tough thing, that Disney gets to take a look at the three outlines that George has written for the new trilogy, and it's like, thank you very much, we're not going in that direction. It was kind of another version of the prequels from what I've been told. Again, very 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 young characters, children,
and like diving into the Force more.
Yeah,
it's like a living object, a living being, kind of. Yeah.
I'm all set on that. I think that was a smart move on Disney's part to notice that and be like, you know what, hard pass.
But at the same time, and no disrespect. We're obviously now, the end of the Skywalker saga. We've seen that trilogy, and there's wonderful stuff in it. In fact, just the other night I was watching the bit where Kylo Ren is on the it's Last Jedi, and they're on the the planet with the last base, and
Great.
Lucas stepped outside, and they have the everything fire at will. And there's just that wonderful moment where the cloud clears and there's Luke standing and just sort of brushes off the dust and come at me, bro.
Yeah.
No, I mean there's good stuff, but
For sure.
The highs are very high. Yes.
Yeah, we always say the highs are high and the lows are really bad.
Yeah, and it just sort of, in a weird sort of way, I'm kind of happy that that's now in the rearview mirror, because here we are in the space where we have things like The Mandalorian, and we see it is actually possible to do good Star Wars today with different characters. In fact, it's been kind of interesting to watch, in the conversations that are out there about The Mandalorian, about the whether it's Ahsoka or the notion that we're going to start seeing characters from Star Wars Rebels filter into the show. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just but anyway, you asked about the parks, and initially the Imagineers. I mean, what the Imagineers do well is they take an IP that's proven, and then find a way to physically bring it into the world in a way that people immediately recognize and are thrilled that they now can physically step into the world of their favorite animated feature or their favorite TV show or whatever. And so when they found about the Lucasfilm deal, they began working on, in fact, this project started out for Disney's Hollywood Studios. The idea was you'd walk up Hollywood Boulevard, and where you make the left to go into the Echo Lake area where you see Gertie the dinosaur and the Indy show. That was going to be, you were going to turn the corner in, and there was Tatooine. And, the idea was that you could walk down the street in Tatooine and eventually make it to Star Tours, which would be your way off the planet. But you'd also have an opportunity to go to the Mos Eisley Cantina. You'd also have an opportunity to, they were going to redo the Indy stunt show so that it would, be more of a celebration of your favorite. I've seen concept art for one version where you saw the sail barge fight.
Whoa.
And it just, just the whole notion of, 8 times a day someone was going to fall off the deck into the Sarlacc pit. So it was like, okay, it's like to see that mattress. But
8 times a day, some underpaid intern is going to
dress up as Boba Fett and fall into the Sarlacc.
But here's the thing, and it's hard now in hindsight, looking at the success of Mandalorian and Star Wars Rebels, to argue this, but it was Kathleen herself who supposedly, when they took her in and showed her, okay, so this is Tatooine, and we're going to put people on the streets of Mos Eisley, and her argument is like, look, you're celebrating Star Wars past, but the reason Disney bought Star Wars is they saw a future. I think what we need to do, especially, we shouldn't be trying to appeal to the older Star Wars fan, the first, whoever who watched, the first trilogies. We want the younger kids. We want the kids who will grow up, being excited that they got to go to their Star Wars world, who then in turn bring their children back to this park. So she was.
By the way, sorry to interrupt, but I feel like that's a really smart move.
It really is.
I agree. I agree.
I know that they got a lot of backlash for doing this, making a new planet, but I'm someone who appreciates the comics and the books, and I go, okay, cool. So we have this new planet, which means we have this new planet means an immense amount of storytelling that we can cram into this. And I think they've done a pretty good job with that with Batuu so far.
And that storytelling can be in any form of media. It could be video game, comic, TV, anything.
That's it exactly. In fact, just in the the past 6 months or so, whether it's the Traveler's Guide to Batuu,
right? I love that book.
Or for that matter, the version of Sims that just dropped. Where
exactly.
But see, that's the thing. We are now basically. What is it? A year and a half out from the original opening of the Anaheim version, and then the Anaheim version, then the Walt Disney World version. And initially, these things that backed up the story weren't there. And I think for a lot of folks, Especially those of us who grew up on the films. The notion of, oh wow, I'm finally gonna get into the Millennium Falcon, and the fact that they did such a lovely job of recreating the interior, and then you got into the ride itself, and it's like, this is nothing like what we saw Han and Chewie fly the Millennium Falcon like.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Just
We're going to the planet from Solo.
They even play some of the score from Solo, the same theme music and everything. So.
Hey guys, remember that massive hit Solo, a Star Wars story that everyone knows,
Coaxium
that everyone
Solo.
saw? We're gonna do that.
But but you have to take the 30,000-foot view, 3-year out view. The notion of, okay, so hey, we're gonna make a movie based on, we're going to show Han Solo's origins. We're going to get people, give them the opportunity to put them in the Millennium Falcon. And if you're an Imagineer, you'd take that bet. It's like, people love the Millennium Falcon. And how is it that a story, a movie that's actually going to show, how he made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs? It's like, no, I'm there. That I want to work on this project. And then, the hard reality of, okay, so we now have to create a cockpit space where, if we're going to have any capacity at all, we got to figure out how to put 6 people in each of these things and give all of them jobs, so they feel like, not just the person who's sitting in the front seat gets the cool, get to do the cool thing, to punch it and, jump the light speed. I don't know. It's one of these things. On paper, I get, why, why they went that way. But at the same time, I think, I think the thing that surprised Disney is that, Smuggler's Run isn't necessarily an attraction that people immediately get back in line to do again.
Agreed. So to the point, I actually had friends today. I was at Hollywood Studios today. Got Rise of the Resistance Boarding Group 3. I was crushing it this morning. And I actually took them on Smuggler's Run first before we did Rise of the Resistance, because I was like,
That's
look,
smart. Build.
you're gonna get
build
on
up.
You're gonna get off Rise and you're gonna be like, oh my god, this is the craziest thing ever, and then you're gonna go ride Star Tours You Control. And so I agree with you, but I'm one of the people who actually really like the Solo movie. I think it's underrated. It's a lot of fun. But it was an odd choice.
Now, I don't know how much of that plays into what you were saying with Star Tours initially, where the Falcon is also supposed to have multiple ride vehicles and ride films, as it were,
Was that something that was planned, to have multiple experiences? Because I remember seeing a lot of concept art for that is nothing like what we ended up with.
Well, okay. If we're talking about Smuggler's Run, yes, there. I gotta say, the irony now is, because of what's going on with COVID and the layoffs at Imagineering, $900 million worth of capital expenditures, planned refurbishments and new attractions, that sort of thing. That's all on pause. And among the ideas that was supposed to be, brought out was a new ride film for Millennium Falcon that would do a better job of, because Disney began almost immediately focus grouping, to the effect of, okay, why is this a misfire? What did we do wrong? And it's just sort of like, okay, that these were the expectations of guests, and this is what we delivered. And it's like we worked backwards from, giving all 6 of the people who were seated in the cockpit something to do. And it's like we didn't deliver an exciting adventure, whereas anybody who rides, Star Tours, in all of its many iterations still has a fun time. Whereas it's like you get on, Smuggler's Run, and it's like, wait a minute, I have to work, I have to grab something.
Man, I think that's why I didn't do well. Like, everything in Disney pretty much is a passive experience. You're on this thing, and something goes horribly wrong, and then you're along for the ride. It's different when you're in control of the ride.
And you don't realize when you need to pay attention. Like, you have to pay attention in the queue, so you learn what to do.
Yeah. It's like homework.
Yeah.
No, that's it exactly. And nobody goes on vacation to do homework.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there is a redo of that attraction But you got to remember that and this is the important thing to remember about Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, and the whole world of it too. That if you look at any of the photography, for example, that BioReconstruct does, you can see clearly there are expansion pads. That there are places for new experiences, for additional rides, for additional shops, for expanding, for example, Oga's Cantina into a full-blown restaurant.
I'm
But
glad
at
you
the
brought
same
that
time,
up.
Very much so.
That was okay. This project is like my biggest what happened.
I still can see the concept art in my head of like the dinner show, the singers and the dancers and the aquarium type.
I mean, they
with,
publicly
like, a
announced
mermaid.
this.
Yeah.
They publicly announced this on the Disneyland 60th special with Harrison Ford narrating it, and they showed concept art for it. What happened? Was it simply budget cuts, or was it something more than that?
Well, well, look, again, remember, if we go back to Kathleen Kennedy and talking about, the future, we should pay attention to the future of Star Wars as opposed to the past. One of the reasons they went with Black Spire Outpost is they wanted a loose construct. They wanted a place where they could bring in, characters from the newer films, characters from, the animated shows for Disney XD, that sort of thing. And in fact, that's kind of the irony is that, right now, we're what, at this point, we are 24 days out from season 2 of the Mandalorian dropping. And, Disney knows from its own guest surveys, to the effect of, hey, when I go to Galaxy's Edge, where can I go to get my picture taken with Mando and the child?
Yeah.
And it's like,
they do have that.
So when is that coming? Where is that? And, so that's the thing. The notion, in a weird sort of way, if you go back to 1955, 1956 Disneyland, when that place first opened, Zorro was a hit television show, and they used to do Zorro weekends at Disneyland, where Guy Williams would come down with Henry Cavill, the guy who played, the Sergeant Garcia, and they'd actually do. Guy was loved working for Disney, so he's up on rooftops, sword playing in Zorro, and afterwards, he and Henry are signing autographs and posing for pictures and that sort of thing. So there's kind of a tradition within the Disney theme parks that you build on what the company has done that has some heat and fold that in, and that changes, the shape of the land. So. Yeah, I mean, that's the weird part of it is do I miss the stunt show? That because they built the marketplace deliberately. So the idea was you could stand in the middle of the marketplace and watch, the First Order chase, members of the resistance across the rooftops and have this elaborate battle. And I think the only time they actually did that was for the grand opening press event.
With Rey and Kylo Ren, lightsaber fights and all.
It's such a missed opportunity, because I remember my very first Star Wars celebration was Celebration Orlando. My apartment is literally a third of a mile away from the convention center, so I was there. It was my first time doing a media coverage for an event like that, and I remember sitting in that room when they first announced. Not announced, but like they first showed details of the project. I remember the first part of the panel was this like tribute to Star Tours, which was really, really cool. And then the second part of that, they showed like these elaborate, like, here's what we're planning. And it was choreography that they had filmed that was going to be these fights. And it's one thing I think that Batu really needs is life.
It needs
other than
visual
other people.
kinetic energy.
Yeah.
It has lots of audio kinetic energy, but it needs visual.
Yeah.
Because it is flat and stagnant in a way.
Well, but again, the interesting thing is you talk with the Imagineers, the first thing they wanted to do, I mean, remember, there was such a big deal made about, We went into the archive, we found the original R2D2 tracks, and we went through when they were pouring the cement, and put authentic droid tracks in, so this is a world with droids, and the fact that the concept art shows the people in costume and droids moving around. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that has yet to come on the canvas, but when you talk with the Imagineers, the problem is that that they always use the analogy, you got to walk before you can run. And it was that first summer where it opened in California and nobody showed up, really threw them. It's just one of these things where it's like, well, wait a minute, we spent all this money. I mean, if you remember the stories about how at Disneyland they actually went through the entire park and like moved planters and lowered curbs.
Yeah, Project Stardust.
So, yeah, I mean, the whole notion of we wanted to make it as easy as for those tens of thousands of people who were going to come every day and run to the back of the park to get there as quickly as possible. And then, but they did such a drumbeat in those 6 months beforehand to the effect of, going to be ridiculously crowded. Oh my God, you're never going to get it in. Oh, you're going to have to book a reservation in advance. And they scared people
away.
into. Well,
yes, 100%. I kept saying that. I was like, they're scaring people off. Like, I was there opening day at Disneyland, even though I live in Orlando, but I was there. I'm like, there's no way I'm missing this. And I remember it was just dead. And I was just like, I thought it was going to be like, shoulder to shoulder. I mean, it eventually got there.
And now ours was shoulder to shoulder in Orlando. But
I truly think they actually just scared people away. They were like, don't try. You're not going to get in.
Yeah. And
they had the ambassadors doing videos on YouTube of like, if you don't have a reservation, you're not getting in.
They made it so spelled out and so obvious.
And and the additional messages without really meaning to send messages, the whole notion of like, we need to, for example, in Anaheim, we need to build that Toy Story, Pixar Pals parking garage because so many more people are coming to Disneyland. And it just, and at least, when it came to Southern California, where, obviously, again, Disneyland and Disney World, two very different animals. Disneyland relies on, all of these folks who live within, 100 miles to drive in. To people that park, whereas Walt Disney World, people are flying into Orlando and renting cars and all that crud. But that spooked them, and certainly not being able to open Rise of the Resistance, just to very late in the game go, oh, we have a phased opening, and this attraction won't be opening till December.
Bad news.
And again. Yeah, bad move. So, and then, face it, the narrative then became, all of these people who were talking about, well, I get up at 4:00 in the morning so I could be in the park at 6. So
That's
when
us.
they opened it at 7. And yeah, I mean, it just sort of, boy, that says fun vacation experience, doesn't it?
Yeah, dude. I remember we didn't sleep the night before. I mean, we stayed at like All Stars real cheaply because we were like, it's closest to the
you're a mile away
to the parks that was reasonable, and we were there in front of Hollywood Studios at 4, and people were like sleeping in their cars and stuff. Like it was chaos, man.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, even the first like 10 times I did Rise of the Resistance, 10 or I don't even know the exact count, but 10, a dozen, whatever times, I was up at 3 a.m. every time, just to do it.
It's nuts. I mean, the whole virtual queue thing is just. I get why they're doing it.
And on opening day, you've pointed out, I even forgot, they didn't even tell you on opening day.
Oh, yeah, no, they didn't mention it at all. I mean, you were standing inside Hollywood Studios at like 4 in the morning before anyone
even mentioned.
There was a cast member from Guest Relations walking through going, make sure you have the My Disney Experience app on your phone. I was just like, I guess they want people to link their ticket. Like, I don't know what they're doing. And then we got in the park, and we waited for another like hour and a half or 2 hours just standing like in the courtyard area of the Great Movie Ride.
We had no clue what's going on.
And then then they go, guests who are wanting to confront the First Order need to get into a boarding group. And we're like, what's a boarding group?
Yeah.
And I was working for the company in Guest Relations at the time. So luckily I just kind of figured it out. But it was strange because it was just this like all of a sudden, like, we thought we got there early to stand in line and try to get, beat the crowds. And that wasn't the case. I both love and hate the virtual queue. I'm fortunate enough where I can go in the mornings, scan in, try for a 10 o'clock boarding group, and if I get it, cool, I can go home and come back 3 or 4 hours later when I get it.
And we have the 2 o'clock dump too for boarding groups.
Is there a? I mean, I'm sure it's operational, but is there a reason they're doing this past that? I feel like they're trying to build hype for this, but I don't feel like they need the hype for this.
Well, face it. Part of the problem is that, there was a Disney vacation experience, a very, very different vacation experience that existed before March of this year. And now, to be in the situation where you're, limited capacity at the parks and social distancing, face it, the boarding group thing runs counter to that. And the whole notion of limiting capacity at the park, and and never mind, the various technical challenges that, let's be honest here, it's a spectacular attraction when it works.
Yep.
All right, but it is also the most, most elaborate technical thing Disney has ever done. And it's so easy for one little part of it to break, and then sort of clog up the pipeline.
It shows why they don't do it that often. They don't.
Take big swings that much.
And the weird part of it is there were a lot of big swings in the pipeline behind this. I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of the concept art for the Battle of Wakanda attraction, or for that matter for the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which was storytelling coaster. And there were equally big things right behind that are now on hold and could be on hold for the foreseeable future until, if you talk with anybody at Disney, whether it's on the film side or, the parks or that sort of thing, it's all about after the vaccine and after people feel safe to travel, whether they feel safe about traveling to their local movie theater or they feel safe about traveling to Orlando or Anaheim, that there's going to have to be 2 and 3 years of spectacular business and showing that everybody's back on board and they want to recreate the Disney, either a movie going or, theme park experience that they've loved. Then they'll start to dust off a lot of this stuff, and in fact, I think that's the thing people need to be ready for with Batuu is that what you see right now is what you're going to get for 4 and 5 years. I mean, mind you, of course, in Orlando, we're also going to get the Galactic, Star Cruiser experience. But that, that gets problematic too, because I think in a weird sort of way, the fact that there are these 300 to 500 people who are getting the super deluxe Star Wars experience because they get to go back to their hotel where there are, in fact, droids wandering around and 3D holographic displays and, that sort of thing. If you're a day guest and the notion of, well, I've got this, and I have to wait for a couple hours to get into Oga's, but, you get to go back to your hotel and, you get to do for the 2 and 3 days that, you've got your cruise in space thing going on. You get the ultimate Star Wars experience, but you're also paying top dollar. That, I'm actually kind of worried about the blowback there, whether that there's going to be a certain level of resentment. The notion that, yes, I want to have that experience, but at the same time, I don't want to spend my kids' college fund to do that.
I only have 2 kidneys, Jim.
Yeah,
I would donate
exactly
all of those things to do it, so I'm fine with it.
I actually went to ask you about this, the Star Cruiser, the Halcyon. I am, for whatever reason, as big of a Star Wars dork as I am, I'm honestly not that excited for this. Am I crazy?
No. I mean, just
I'm gonna do it, but I just
you're crazy. But
I just feel like it's just gonna be something that's just gonna almost get there, and then you're gonna be like, it was $5,000.
Well, look. All right, there. If you talk with anybody who works in themed entertainment, they talk about when you build a park, you always have to keep in mind, how people go to the beach. That there are people who go to the beach, and their idea of a fun time is they bring their blanket, they bring their chair, And as far as the water, I mean, they're at the beach, but they'll go down and they'll they'll get the toes wet, but that's enjoyable to them. And then there are the waiters, the people who they'll go in up to their waist, and they enjoy that, but they want to go back and to blanket, read their book, and then there were the swimmers, and then there were the divers, and then there were the mer people. All right, the people who just and that's the thing, from in the theme park world, you do have the mer people, the people where literally too much theming ain't enough. Just sort of the notion of, I don't want to just go to Batu and go to the Savis and build my own lightsaber. I want to be in orbit over the planet looking down. I want to see battles in space, and I want to have a droid come to my room and give me a secret mission where so it's just sort of like
we're mere people. We're mer people.
I was about to say, now that's definitely us. Like, as much as we love Batu, we're still sad we never got that full interactive, like, you're at Oga's and the bartender's like, hey, you crashed the Falcon, and that that person's trying to hunt you down, that bounty hunter. Like, that never happens.
But there is a balance, and what Jim's getting at is that this is going to be for the mer people.
I hope
it's not going to be something that you can just passively experience.
Right. And now on the last episode of your Disney Dish show, you talked about like the food delivery robots.
DisneyDish.com/Bandcamp or .bandcamp.com.
And the food delivery robots.
Checks in the mail. Thank you. Okay, good plug. Good plug. All right.
And that application and Disney's recent patents involving their roaming droids, and it's for the hotel. So that definitely applies to us being the mer people. We want droids that deliver us our food or deliver us a secret message or whatever it is.
Well, what's kind of it? Are you guys familiar with Evermore Park in Utah?
Mainly by name, yeah.
Evermore.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Refresh my memory. I know I've heard of it.
The biggest role-playing park ever.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, this opened September of 2018. The plan was that it was going to be the ultimate immersive experience theme park. That you were going to be able to go there and go to the tavern, and the very thing you were just talking about Oga's, where the bartender would be familiar with, that she crashed, and the bounty hunters are looking for you. They actually tried to get this up and running. The problem is, of course, that they had some financial issues, and but they had very, very elaborate plans. But it was an intimate park that was going to build out slowly over years, and in a lot of ways, that's how you have to look at Black Spire Outpost. The whole notion is, okay, this is the starter set for the Star Wars. And it face it, it's kind of ironic to say mini land, given the thing is what, 16 acres?
I think it's
13 acres.
14 acres.
Yeah, 14 acres. Okay, so. And with as much rock work and as elaborate that its design is, but this is a starter set, and that there, as Disney go forward, say, you will get additional action figures, you will get additional props and costumes, and in fact, if this year hadn't gone sideways the way it was. This holiday season will be the first time you would be able to go to Batu and experience Life Day. They had a Harry Potter holiday type, theming and menu change and that sort of thing planned for, a Black Spire Outpost, and with the hope of that would become an annual thing at that park.
Is this part of the book doing the 3 holidays?
The Traveler's Guide to Batu.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. And, that's again, if you want a sense of what this place is eventually going to be like, read that book, and you've got, May the 4th was also going to be its own kind of standalone thing.
Of course. Makes sense.
And in fact, the other thing that kind of really breaks my heart is that if Star Wars Celebration this year had gone forward in Anaheim the way it was supposed to, you would have had the first, sort of mating of Star Wars Celebration and Black Spire Outpost, and had sort of this ultimate fan event, kind of after hours thing where you would have gotten the special taste for Anaheim, and then, of course, going into the future, the notion was also bring Star Wars Celebration to Orlando, do it on property at Disney, and create sort of the ultimate. If you're the super fan, you can be doing Star Wars Celebration while staying at the Halcyon and
God,
wow, the ultimate Star Wars bubble. Forget about the NBA bubble. We had the Star Wars bubble.
I was supposed to be there. I was going to that. I had tickets, and it just what a bummer. What a bummer. I was so sad.
Yeah, well, but again, they've announced we got the next one coming in 2022.
I'll be there. We'll see you there.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Just I think that's the thing that concerns me the most is to watch what's going on with the studios. I mean, I don't know if you saw just today, before we started recording, that Universal blinked and moved Jurassic World Dominion. That just got pushed off to summer of 2022.
Wow. I mean, that does well financially, but at this point, they might as well just kind of cancel it. Those films are going downhill quick. Financially, though, I get it.
Okay, but I don't know. It's just one of these things. The notion of so, I get it. You're owned by a giant corporation, and you have to protect your investment. And you assume at this point, 2021, maybe we won't have the vaccine, so let's move that to a safer harbor. But face it, we have a number of Star Wars films that are supposed to be coming out. In fact, I don't know how you felt about that when Disney announced the schedule, and it was literally this dance where James Cameron gets one Christmas, then Star Wars gets one Christmas, then James Cameron, and it's just sort of like, all right, could you just have the Star Wars people go to visit the people in Avatar and be done with it? All right, just sort
come
of
on. At some point, Pandora's got to be canon. Let's just do this epic crossover event. Another thing I wanted to mention to you was I was there on Media Day. I wasn't in the park or in the land for Media Day, but I was outside because I had heard rumblings. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Actually, I have two stories from Media Day.
Media Day for the land or for Rise?
For Rise of the Resistance.
Okay,
sorry,
got you.
Rise of the Resistance.
The fourth.
Yes, the fourth. I was actually working at Disney at that time at Hollywood Studios and Guest Relations, and I was walking around backstage, and I wander upon Hondo Onaka in full character makeup and everything. And I was blown away at how good that was. And this kind of leads to an overall question. But then I had heard he was talking about the drones. He's like, yeah, they're going to fly at a certain time at night because they have these lights on them. Were the drones something that they had planned for the land as a whole, and it just was like, well, we can't make this work, so we're just going to do it for this 3 or 4 nights? They actually did it like 3 or 4 nights in a row, maybe a whole week, and then ended it? Or was that just something they specifically did just for the media event to get hype for the land?
Well, in a weird sort of way, this is a parallel project to, you might remember for New Fantasyland,
Dragon.
the dragon.
Balloon dragon.
Yeah. And this was the thing that the Imagineers put a lot of money into the development of that dragon. And, and in fact, the initial plan was that in much the same way that Tinkerbell, flies off, leaps off the tower at Cinderella Castle and slides down, to the roof of the Tomorrowland Terrace. But the dragon was also going to be part of the nighttime show, and that's how they were going to justify the hundreds of thousands of dollars they spent on developing this. But anybody who worked in Orlando knows that in fact, it's always fascinating to me to talk with the guys who work in pyro at Disney, especially in Florida, where they talk about, so we're watching the weather 30 miles out, and it's like, can we get the show in? Mm-hmm. Can we, before the wind shifts, because anybody who knows how the pyro was actually done at Disney, where the effect of, the pyro was shot, from several spots way behind the castle and that sort of thing. I mean, it all comes together in the sky over the park, but it's all a question of, it has to, even with these new firing mechanisms, the weather has to be just so if you're going to get your smiley faced, fireworks firing off or your Mickey tape stuff and that's it.
Yeah.
I got hit in the head with a shell one time in Frontierland when I was working.
That explains a lot. No, just kidding.
Yeah, that's it. But again, you're the lucky one who gets to get home the special smoking souvenir.
Look at my singed hair. It's a one-of-a-kind take-home item.
Sell it on eBay for $5,000.
Your complimentary concussion. Well, look, but that's the thing. It's just, they designed these things, and got to remember, Disney was heavily into drones for a while. There was, I'm sure you saw the patents. In fact, I think Len put them out there of the version of the Reflections of Earth replacement that was going to heavily feature the drone component, and then they did the test at
Disney Springs.
Springs
for the Christmas show.
Yeah, and it was just I don't know if you ever got there on a night where one of the drones would malfunction.
Just hanging by itself off to the left in perfect synchronicity.
Sort of like, everybody else is making a Christmas tree. Screw that.
I have footage of that. Actually,
that's my spirit animal right there. That's me.
You.
That's me as a drone.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. It's just sort of like there are things that get built, and they get right up to the point of execution, and then they have to go to legal, and they have to go to ops, and they have to go, okay, if we're going to do this on a permanent basis, we need a drone hangar, we need a drone maintenance bed, a budget, and that's it exactly. And it's just sort of like, how much?
Well, also too, I know this just from working there. The place that they were doing the launch from, for like 40 minutes before and after, cast members weren't allowed to.
It was in the cast parking lot.
It was They
that's it exactly.
Yeah, I should have said that up front. Yeah, it was in the cast parking lot, and cast members. Yeah. That certain area was blocked off, and they're like, if you take a photo, you're fired. Right. And like it was just all this like super secretive stuff, and like if your car was parked anywhere near them, you were stuck there for 40 minutes.
No, that's it exactly. In fact, isn't near where the new wardrobe building got built?
Yes. So it was a little bit to if you're looking at that from backstage, it was kind of to the left of that, right behind the Rise Show building.
Yeah. So,
but so I get all that stuff, but come on, figure it out.
They still have them somewhere because they shipped them out to California.
Yeah. I mean, that again, they will probably see them in season 2 of Prop Culture. Just
breaks my heart.
I'll take it, but I want more. I'd rather see them in the sky than see them on Disney Plus.
Right.
No, we all would. Would. But again, you just there's. We're just not there yet. I mean, I remember. In fact, I've just recently been on a tear of I've been on eBay buying up old Disneyland lines from the early 1980s, and I just came across one from 84 or thereabouts, where they've just restarted flying Tinkerbell across the park after they finished building the new Fantasyland out there. And they talk as part of the article about how when they redid New Fantasyland, they had to create a new place for Tinkerbell to land. And for a time, that was when they were looking at hot gluing a remote control helicopter to the back of the clear acrylic body that they do for audio animatronic figures. And I guess this was the Tony Paxton project. Huh. But he found they had an extra clear acrylic body for the Alice in Wonderland figure from Mickey's, the Mickey Mouse Revue. And so they did this amazing thing where they hot glued, they took the clear acrylic body, they hot glued a remote control helicopter to its back. They filled it with twinkle lights.
Oh my God.
What?
All right. And so now, so 3:00 in the morning, they're in the park in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle, and they fire this thing up. And they proceed to fly it back and forth around the towers of
visual is priceless.
Sleeping Beauty Castle. And everyone who was there said it is the most amazing. I mean, it's the closest approximation to the Tinkerbell you saw, at the start of the Wonderful World of Color, where she's,
So it turned out well. I'm picturing this turning out terrible.
Yeah,
but
in my head, this is a nightmare.
Yeah, but it turned out amazing.
It turned out amazing. So,
Wow.
but then it became a question of, okay, so what's its flight path? And they were initially, they were talking about, okay, so if we start it flying off of the roof of the Carousel of Progress and we fly it over Tomorrowland and we only turn on the lights after, we're around the castle, and then when it finishes its moment in the show, we turn off the lights and we safely fly back to the rooftop. And again, they took it to Disney Legal in the mid 1980s, and it's like, are you high?
Even
It's
back
like
then, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't fly it over guests.
Yeah.
Cut the kid. No, that's it exactly. And it was just, and they spent months trying to figure out if we just flew it there, over rooftops. And in fact, their argument was like, well, what if we, for the 5 minutes in the show, we actually block the flight path? So, for example, people couldn't be walking through the area in Disneyland where it took off of the Carousel of Progress building,
and
and
then
then
nightmare for operations.
Yeah.
no, that's it exactly. That's it exactly. But just shut down the space between there and the the Tomorrowland restaurant that's next to the subs, and then you creep it along the buildings there until you get just to the edge of the plaza, and the same thing. You just create an open space and then fly it over the castle, and again, that
could work.
Yeah.
Could have worked.
Yep.
In a way, it's almost like I think they've solved this dilemma now, if it ever does come to fruition. The Spider-Man animatronic in the Marvel's Avengers Campus.
But same thing. That when when the Stuntronic is fired through the air and does the classic Spider-Man pose, that is the plan. They just literally, you'll have a bunch of cast members go, hey, you're just going to hang back here for a few minutes for no reason whatsoever. And
yeah, I couldn't tell if it was over backstage areas only or if it does go over guests.
Well, the backstage areas are like, I don't know backstage at DCA because I've never worked there, but backstage areas, I mean, just because it's backstage doesn't mean it's vacant. I mean, there's people back there all the time.
They don't matter. They're cast members, though.
Well, what's left of them? Got him. I wanted to tell Jim the story real quick because it was pertinent to what we were just talking about. The very first time I went to Disneyland, was like 3 years ago. I've always been Walt Disney World person just because I'm from North Carolina. And actually, like, not too far from where Lynn used to live, like 30 minutes away. It's funny.
Okay. Yep.
In Concord.
Stalker much? Jeez.
I know he's from Greensboro. How dare you?
Creepy.
I love Lynn. Anyway, the first time I went to Disneyland and saw their fireworks show and Tink came out, and I was thinking like, oh, it's gonna be like Tinkerbell where she kind of like just glides down on the zip line. I was watching the fireworks and like she does like that thing where she kind of goes up and down, and she was up and then she went down, and I screamed. I was like, oh my god, because I thought she was falling because I wasn't used to seeing
that fluctuation.
Tinkerbell fall like that, and it freaked me out.
Yeah, trust me, if you could see that rig during the day that and remember, that they've used that rig to they did a Dumbo.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And it's one of these things where it's like it's like a small foreign car on two different sets of wires that's and the poor, and that's the other thing, the poor cast member who's doing Tinker in the Dumbo outfit, that's, physics matters. All right. The fact that this pulley system is jerking you up and down as you're moving back and forth. And it's just, they actually had to, they renegotiated a contract with the cast members who, they get paid the big bucks because they are, in fact, doing the flying. But they had to actually include here's where you get to go to the chiropractor, twice a month, and here's for the massage, because they were getting badly beaten up and bruised by that thing.
Now, for the longest time, wasn't it like literal mattresses that they would land on?
Oh God,
it still is at Magic Kingdom.
Is it still literal mattresses?
I've seen it.
Hang on. Gentlemen, gentlemen, I will read. In fact, this is from the June 16th, 1983 issue of the Disneyland line. And let's see. Okay. Engineering Tinkerbell's 30-second flight is no easy feat, and an entertainment crew of 10 is responsible each night for her dazzling performance. 3 crew members, 2 to launch, and 1 to time the flight, are with Tinkerbell at the top of the Matterhorn, and 2 more crew members are ready to catch her in an enveloping mat as she glides into the tower. This is the tower they built behind New Fantasyland. Now, here's the part I didn't know. Okay. Numerous safety systems are in operation for Tink's flight, including harnesses for launchers, the guys at the top of the Matterhorn, so they don't fall off after they push her. Also, the catchers, and this is the part I never heard about this before, and a backup trampoline on the tower to cushion her stop if necessary.
Oh my god!
And it's like, so what? You know. Because I'd always heard that the enveloping mat, the way I guess the pet name for it was the taco. One guy on either side of the mat would hold it and she'd fly into it and and she'd hit and they'd fold and it's just like the giant Tinkerbell taco.
Yeah.
I mean, like now we're getting way off topic, but that's like bagging the fish at Fantasmic. What they do with Ariel.
There we go.
It's just like throwing the burlap sack over Ariel.
I love it. I love it. So how this is? I guess we'll end on this. I don't want to keep you too long, but again, thank you for doing this
so much.
How close were we to getting these? Because I have Dan Z level commitment to not seeing spoilers. So
he's not kidding.
He
goes and lives in a cabin in the woods. Like he doesn't even take his phone. Like,
I never see you. I mean, literally, I'm in a cabin in the woods right now. The fact that
my
I keep
cabin's
getting
a little further away from
the Unabomber's, mail. It's very sad. So
yeah, I can just put like to the point where when a new movie is coming out that I want to see, Star Wars or not, I will just delete social media off my phone and just be gone for a week. Like as soon as the
people
premiere
get worried
hits,
about him. They're like, is Brad still around?
Okay, yeah, he's fine. He's just avoiding spoilers at home. But so I didn't know about this until literally 2 or 3 months ago. But Evan was talking to me about the media event, which I obviously didn't watch because I was like, I don't want to see anything. I don't want to hear any story for Rise of the Resistance. I just want to go in completely blind, and I succeeded. But I went back eventually and watched those opening shows that they did where it was like they literally moved the crowd from place to place and had these like really...
It was a storytelling event.
Yeah. And then it ended with these Kylo Ren and Rey lightsaber fights above you over Saju's workshop.
With Chewie blasting stormtroopers and Vi fighting a lieutenant and all that stuff.
This question is the same thing. Was that close to being like a nightly thing there, or was that just for the media event? Because I feel like that
should be a nightly thing.
Yeah, that's like the missing thing for me in this land is this like storytelling part.
Even
like,
if you bump the prices up, I'll pay an extra $20,
right?
Look, if again, if you know any cast members who now work in Black Sparrow Outpost, they will tell you if you can get up to the roof, you can see, where, all of this infrastructure was built, is in place now with the notion of, this was supposed to be, there was a daytime version, and again, as you mentioned with the lightsabers, there was a nighttime version, and again, the idea was conceivably if, between the app you could load on the phone that allowed you to monitor, what's going on with the First Order and the Resistance and, all of that. There was a full day's worth of entertainment inside of Galaxy's Edge, that if you were a Star Wars fan and wanted to hang out there. And remember, part of this is put in place because, again, you have these $300 to $500 people who have paid top dollar to stay at the Halcyon, and so when they're in the park, they expect the super deluxe Star Wars experience. So they expect to see, people scrambling at the rooftop because, again, they've got their special mission that they're supposed to be completing, and one of the characters that's up there moving around is someone they've either interacted with or going to be interacting with later. So, but yeah, it's
heartbreaking, man. When you see how cool it was, it was just like, especially like even just something as simple as having, because we have Vi Marati, the spy, who is a great.
She was a part of that storyline of that night.
But but just even like just having rebel pilots walk around. I mean, there's X-wings and A-wings,
but it's only for those media nights.
It's so weird. I mean, I get it. You want to hype things up, but like, I want to go and see that.
Yeah,
like that's. Part
no, but but the flip side is because they haven't turned the key on that. They haven't there are no droids. There are no, other than the people who run the shops. And remember, the idea was that all of them, the initial story for Galaxy's Edge was that, the cast members who worked in the individual shops were the family that ran that store. That they supposedly lived upstairs, just, a few steps away. And so, they were supposed to have all sorts of backstory or be able to talk with them. They'd have the gossip. And, just a lot of this but, then you turn around and go, okay, so I'm an hourly cast member. Are you going to pay me extra so I go home and study the binder? So,
well, if you ask
I know
JPEG,
the latest. Yeah.
JPEG said our cast members are the entertainment. So
that is such a cop-out. That is such a cheap cop-out. I
did
hate
say
that
they're
so
the actors, basically, the
Oh,
entertainment.
God.
So.
Then pay him as an
All
entertainment.
right, but to be completely fair here, if you're, think about it, you're Bob Chapek, okay? And think about it, you're the guy who was in charge of parks and interactive experiences and consumer products. And here's Bob Iger, who evidently, the story I've heard is that Bob got the news about how bad things were in China, the impact on Hong Kong and Tokyo. And that's literally, he calls Chapek and says, hey, that job you want? You got it.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
But it just literally, it's like the captain of the Titanic, sees the iceberg and it's like, okay.
You're the captain now.
He turns to his first mate. Here's my hat.
There you go. Enjoy.
Wow.
I'm
That's
just gonna
so mean.
But yeah, I mean, face it, Chapek is in an awful position right now. The only saving grace that Disney has right now is Disney Plus, and the fact, that's the only shiny star right now because we're all trapped at home. Just sort of, so perfect thing to launch at this time, and so again, from a Star Wars point of view, the fact that we're all going to be losing our minds about Mandalorian season 2 in just 24 days, and we're going to get that Rogue One spinoff and, our Obi-Wan thing. And, there's lots of great Star Wars stuff coming our way, and all we can hope is that going forward, if these shows hit, you will, and again, just like Zorro showing up in Frontierland and, 56, 57 at Disneyland, wouldn't it be cool if, we get to see Cassian and, K1? What is the
K2SO?
Yeah. See them show up in the park.
At Galaxy's Edge?
Anywhere but Galaxy's Edge, yes.
Well, no. That's again.
Okay.
Remember, remember, we're out in, we're out in the Outer Rim. We're
Launch
in I mean, if you go with the backstory, it's a place where people who are out doing things and trying to maintain a low profile. This is where they would potentially show up. So again, that's all Kathleen. This has to be a loose construct that we can bring other characters into. So.
The only problem with that is I feel like they've kind of, I guess they kind of had to do this, but they've kind of written themselves in a corner where this takes place in the timeline.
With Rise.
This is with Rise of the Resistance, because this is after Episode 8, before Episode 9.
So if you would shut down Rise or whatever, it'd be fine. And don't have Kylo and Stormtroopers walk around.
I honestly think they're not going to be that precious with it. I think they're going to be like, you like The Mandalorian? Cool, here's The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I think they will.
I'm already worried about the holidays, so if they start throwing in Baby Yoda next to Kylo Ren, I'm going to be so lost.
Well,
I'm moving back to Indiana.
I mean, the interesting thing though is that
I'm serious.
if you talk with the Imagineers, they're like, okay, realistically, okay, I get Star Wars diehards saying that and that sort of thing. But if we go over the Magic Kingdom to the most popular land at the Magic Kingdom, you have Peter Pan, who lives across the street from Small World, who in turn his next door neighbor is Mickey's PhilharMagic. And it's like people, I mean, I get that Star Wars fans would, that's not canon. And it's just like, look, I'm on vacation. All right. I got a dole
Right.
All right. And just don't.
That's very true.
I mean, it's like what you said with the guy that came over from Nike. I'm forgetting his name when he started to make the Princess
Andrew
brand.
Mooney. Andrew Mooney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's that same idea.
Yeah.
Just make it the Star Wars characters all know each other, no matter what brand. And
No, that's it exactly.
So let's end on this. I have this theory that Galaxy's Edge and Batuu is kind of the future of Disney Star Wars in a way. I think you're going to see a lot of things tie into this, and I think it would make perfectly good sense to do that. Do you think that's a fair guess, or am I off on this?
I think that when you look at the Star Wars Venn diagram, and face it, things are about to get interesting. In fact, if we hadn't had COVID, we'd be in the early phases of the rollout of High Republic right about now.
Yep.
And again, remember we have our our Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan show coming, and there's lots of other interesting Star Wars stuff just over the horizon. These all, in much the same way as, we've gone back to Tatooine several times. We've gone back to Coruscant. That there are, kind of these, places on the map that we go to, where in the Star Wars space, and you're not wrong. With the travel guide to Blackspire Outpost to Batuu, the Sims thing, Disney is pressing the notion of this place. Batuu is one of the places you will know and you will go to, as if you're as we continue telling Star Wars stories. So but again, think of it in the same way that you can rattle off Hoth and Endor and Tatooine. Batuu will be in that pile. But at the same time, we're going to see different, other different worlds introduced. And honestly, don't be surprised as we go forward. And if one of these franchises, one of these new properties gets introduced, don't be surprised if you see, for example, Kylo Ren shuttle, suddenly a construction fed goes up and an entirely different vehicle gets built there. I honestly think there is so much hardware and, so much money invested in Rise of the Resistance. There's no way we're seeing that change for decades. But on the other hand, Smuggler's Run, I'll tell you flat out, again, on the back of all those focus groups that were done on the heels of why don't people like this ride? They are looking at, in much the same way that Star Tours got, multiple, destinations. They're at least looking to create a new ride film for that, something that they hope will genuinely satisfy the people who are Star Wars fans and also the day guests. That's the other thing, trying to hit that sweet spot, and especially in Orlando, where it's like, it's not only the vacationers, it's also, if you think about how many international visitors come to Orlando, and so you can't do a dialogue-driven show because you can't count on everybody in the cockpit speaking English.
Yep.
So,
I mean, they have
anyway.
that down super hardcore in overseas parks, like the Sinbad attraction. Like, that basically doesn't have a whole lot of language in it, and that story is conveyed amazingly.
But at the same time, interesting that you bring up Sinbad. Remember, Sinbad, that was supposed to be that park's Pirates. It opens, and everybody's like, "Whoa, that's dark, that's weird," and they actually shut it down.
They did
do the redo where they put in the cute little tiger and the Alan Menken, the compass
song.
of your heart. Yeah, and that totally turned around that attraction. So
you're right. I forgot all about that. You're right.
Yeah. So again, same thing. I guess all we have to worry about now is like, well, geez, how are they going to put the tiger into Smuggler's Run?
We'll just have Alan Menken write a song. It'll be okay.
There we go.
We're
on our way to Tatooine. Na, na, na.
All Hondo needs is like a cute little plush that you can sell.
Kowakian monkey lizard. He has some. He has monkey lizards. I get that completely, though. One of my last things is, like, my dad and my parents in general haven't been to Walt Disney World since 2005. And I'm trying to talk them into coming down later this month, mainly just to see Galaxy's Edge. But my dad is in this camp of, like, if it's not Luke and Darth Vader, I don't care. I don't care at all. So I'm like, I don't know what he's going to think of Galaxy's Edge.
But that's crazy because, like, when you get on Rise, it's undeniable.
Maybe we'll see. I hope I'll see. But he's just like, I don't care unless it's Vader and Luke.
But the weirdest part is that and remember, we wouldn't have any of this if Wizarding World hadn't hit in such a big way.
Yeah.
And and what's fascinating for me is that, think about it. Yes, you get to see the characters on the rides, but not in the park.
Yep.
And that's okay for a lot of people. It's just sort of like, it's like, all right, I don't necessarily get to see Harry. I can't queue up and get my picture taken with him. Whereas Disney,
Hermione, but
well, so
I mean,
hang in there. My understanding, we are just 7 years out now from the Cursed Child movie.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and supposedly, what's her name? Radcliffe's coming back. Rupert Grint's coming back. Emily's coming back. They evidently Warner's has a handshake deal that everyone's agreed to come back, and they're going to shoot a trilogy. Of course, if J.K. Rowling doesn't run the franchise into the dirt.
She's close. She's close.
Trying, man. She's trying to do it.
Oh man, just sort of like, wow. It's like I had no idea she wrote a wonderful book, and she was the pilot of the Andrea Doria. It's just sort of like,
yeah. I mean, I've only seen all of those movies once, and I've only been to Universal itself twice. But I completely agree. Like, not seeing those characters really sucks. I'm like, I'm not that invested, but I'd like to see the main characters.
It doesn't bother me at all. I actually,
but we can see Kylo and Rey. We see the main characters.
Yeah, but it's different. Like, they're in school.
Yeah.
You're at an outpost where they're running away from each other. I mean, it makes more
true.
sense for them to not be walking around. I don't know. I'm not. I'm
Are you kidding me? They skip class all the time in the movies, don't they? It's like, Harry, don't do that, but then he does it.
I'm not the person to be asking Harry Potter questions.
Yeah, that's true. Neither am I.
Well, Jim, I really appreciate you coming on and talking some Galaxy's Edge stuff. It's one of my. Have you been yet to the land?
Yes, Nancy and I want to say it was last November. We finally got in to the Walt Disney World version, and again did the Smuggler's Run, and I made a point of, we ended up as the pilots, and it was like, Nancy, it's like, you put up with so much of my crap. You're the one who, punch it. You have us jump to light speed. But I got to tell you, for the years of conversations about blue milk, to finally get in line and to be handed that cup of cold blue house paint, it's like, this really?
Oh, I love blue milk.
That's okay. Green milk is better anyway. That's fine.
Oh no! It's just that's Dang. Like, you drink the, that's the thing. Nancy got green milk, I got blue milk, and it's just one of these things. You drink the green milk, and it's like, this is what happens when the filter in your child's aquarium backs up.
I was so looking forward to drinking some again on Thursday, but now I don't know.
Well, no,
I had one today. It was great. I love it.
And just the whole notion of, they well, do you want rum with it? It's like, well, how much do I have to pay you just to get the rum? Because I'm never drinking this crap again.
Can I have the rum by itself?
Yeah, no.
Can the rum be given to me as a chaser for this?
Can I have a blue rum instead of blue milk?
Just sort of, and it just, the notion, and they spent years. I remember, did you ever see the photo they put up on social media where it's like literally a conference table covered with samples of blue milk, and it's like, you had meetings upon meetings upon meetings.
Yeah, I was at that panel.
The flavor you came up with?
I love it. I love blue milk.
Maybe that means this is the best one out of those 500 flavors.
Could you imagine what the other ones tasted like?
Imagine the other 400.
Oh, just like, well, this one just doesn't have enough dryer lint taste to it. Can we go back to the used sock? Terrible.
Now, did you get to go to Oga's? Because that has the best drinks. Is Oga's?
Well, same thing. There was a line for Oga's, and I didn't want to pull rank on. It was one of these things where it's like, just wanted to be a day guest. Just wanted. I mean, that's. Look, doing this job, I'm very lucky. Again, get backdoored to a lot of things, get to see things early, but it was just one of these cases, especially with this project. I wanted to experience it like the day guest, just to get a sense of, okay, what is this like? And some of the stuff was just dead on. I mean, for example, we went to Ronto's Roasters, and the food there was great, and we went outside, and we were able to get an outdoor table and sort of overlook the Falcon. But the funniest thing was to watch the day we were there. They were running Chewbacca around like he was running for election. That just, they were moving, it's like, you got a 345, Chewie over here, got to meet with these people and shake some hands, and, we got to move them, and it was like this poor slob in, a 1,500-pound suit in Florida heat. But, I enjoyed it. I have yet to get down and experience Rise of the Resistance. And again, we were talking earlier about the whole homework aspect of it, and it just the whole notion of get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, be at the park by 6, stand there at 7 o'clock, and hope to God that when the reservations come open, at 7, when you hammer, you get a boarding group that isn't at 3:45 in the afternoon. It just. Did any of that, of what I described, does any of that sound like a relaxing vacation?
Nope.
Zero of it.
We've done it almost 30 times a piece, and it's still not relaxing.
31 today was my 31st
You got me.
time.
I'm on 25, and it's not been relaxing.
Yeah, it's stressful because my friends were here, and we had one shot, and I was like, please, dear God, let us get a group.
Your phone has to not glitch. The app, which always glitches, has to not glitch. You have to use data, not Wi-Fi.
And I'm sorry. I mean, I hear it's a spectacular attraction. But it's it's the equivalent of we're it's amazing, but first we have to climb this mountain and then go across this ridge, and then then when you do all of that work, then an amazing vacation experience. And it's just sort of, no.
Have you heard of them moving away from that? Is there any news on that front, or is this virtual queue here to stay?
Well, it's again, there were some very serious discussions going on, and then COVID happened, and right now, and and that's the other thing. There were so many projects that were placed on hold or lost their funding because of what Disney's going through now. I mean, pretty much what we have today is what you can expect Disney to stick with, for the foreseeable future. Yikes. And I wish I had better news.
Stupid virtual queue.
Yeah.
Now, doing what you do, have you been able to stay spoiler free on Rise, or do you know all of Rise and it's kind of like?
My problem is that so often I will be talking with folks, and again, and so many of these attractions take years to get off the ground and move into the steel and construction phase. And so when you're talking with key creatives, they'll tell you the whole ride that they were going to build before the budget got descoped. And so, the problem is that you'll get on the ride and it's like, oh, this is great. That's wonderful. Oh, that's where the cutscene was going to go.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, but again, I've always been that guy. I've always been for example, my daughter Alice, we went to do one of those events at Barnes and Noble where the night they released the Harry Potter book, you're in the store and you're among the very first midnight you can buy the book. And so, we're literally bought the book. We're back, going back to the car, and I'm flipping to the back, and Dumbledore dies. And she's like, Dad, and it's just sort of like, well, no, I'm into the construction. I'm into, it's not just how you, it's not just the story, it's how you tell the story.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And that's the thing, when so many, I honestly think that, some of the stuff that's done for theme park rides today, some of the most amazing stagecraft that's being done in the world today is being done in theme parks. And in fact, that's honestly the toughest part of what's going on right now with 411 Imagineers being let go from just the Glendale campus alone. All of these artists who do amazing work are kind of in a holding pattern till we all feel safe enough to travel. And, you hope to God that, they can keep the team together and get them back to, to do great work again. So.
Well, Jim, thank you so much, man. If you ever get on Rise, let us know how it goes. Let us know what you think.
I will. But as always, guys, enjoy chatting.
Of course.
Thanks for the invite.
Anytime. You're welcome anytime, dude.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find you other than the glorious plug I gave you earlier?
To be honest, these days it's mostly the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network. I do the thing Disney Dish with Len. I do obviously Looking at Lucasfilm with Dan Z. Universal Joint with Dustin Fuse. So we're keeping on tabs on all the Potter stuff. And Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor. And in fact, I'm going to supposedly recording a brand new I Want That with Michelle Valladolid.
Yes,
tomorrow.
I love that. I love that show. Yes. Awesome.
Okay, well, we're trying to, Michelle's been recovering from surgery, so we're hopefully getting one out the date, but again, it's just sort of like, I've been gathering all of this Halloween info, and it's like by the time we actually record the Halloween info show, the Christmas stuff is up. So it's like,
It's all right. That's a great show. I love that show.
So. One final thing here, though. Did you guys just today? I got my copy of The Mandalorian, the art and the imagery. You guys seen this?
No, I have not. I'm looking forward to it.
I've only heard about it. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, I'm kind of disappointed. It's not. I thought, early on it was going to be a traditional sort of art of book, and it's really more of a one of those special edition, magazines with a hardcover. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's got some amazing concept art, but very little text.
That's a bummer. I love those art of books.
How
That's
does
my
it
favorite.
relate to like the end credit scenes of The Mandalorian, where they show like the painted style?
Actually, you do get to see a couple of those. I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, the art pieces are great. I just assumed I'd be getting some text.
Yeah,
because again,
right. More like a visual dictionary style almost.
Well, no, like the art of books.
Oh, okay.
Just like that. Yeah, the art of books are great.
Yeah.
So anyway, that arrived today. So I guess that's hitting store shelves places. So.
I will get my copy. I'm
shocked you don't have it. Yeah.
The lightsaber book is one I'm really looking forward to.
Same.
I can't wait for that one. All right, Jim. Well, thanks, man. Anytime you want to come on the show, you are beyond welcome. And give Nancy my best, and I hope you guys stay safe.
I will. And thanks again for the invite. And dear Lord, we talked for over 90 minutes. All right, please.
I could talk for another 90. So
no chance.
Great. I
it's all gold, my dude.
All right. Well,
thanks
again,
buddy.
Guys.
Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
Take care now.
That was friggin' awesome.
Oh, man.
I could talk to him for hours, man.
Yeah.
I had dinner with him once. It was me. It was him, Len, and somebody else. I forget.
Sadly, not me.
Oh my god,
I would
forgot
trade
who it
anything
was.
for that.
Was it Disney Dan?
That'd be great, Disney Dan.
I forget who.
What a wealth of knowledge there.
It might have been Tim Tracker.
I said wealth of knowledge.
I like Tim actually.
He's a great dude.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
I forget who it was.
I could talk to Jim about just like
anything.
the history of a light pole near the bathrooms of imagination. Like, I don't care.
And he's so like, he's just so eloquent. When you ask him, like I asked him a question, and I hope if he hears this, please, I'm not knocking you, but it was like a 7-minute answer.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You could ask us the same question, and we'd be like,
I don't know.
I like it because it's fun. But he just gave, like a long, legit, well thought out, well planned answer.
I love people like that can just like, oh yeah, there was this article on this 1985 cast member thing. You're just like, how do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because I'm so dumb.
I can only hardly remember things from like last Friday. It's tough.
He's a
I forget what day it is sometimes, but I
love Jim. He's a great guy. But I brought the dinner up because he was like that in person too. Like you just talk to him about, because he prepares for shows obviously, but I mean he didn't think we were going to talk about Tinkerbell. I don't think.
No,
the fact that he just
taco,
knew that
the Tink Taco.
It's just he's
coming soon.
He's a great guy. The new Tinkerbell taco.
Yeah. With our golden glittery shell.
What were we talking about before we did the interview? We were talking. Oh, the rumor
a little
of
Squadrons, a little rumors.
I want you to play Squadrons before you leave. I have it out here, and I want you to give it a shot. Tell me what you think. Just play it for a minute or two.
Okay.
Just tell me what you think.
I don't know if I've ever done like flight simulators really. So this might be like my
it's
first
easy.
flight simulator.
I mean, you'll figure it out. The controls are pretty intuitive.
Nice. I'm not intuitive. So
but there was what I wanted to bring up was there was a rumor. I want to hear what you think about this. Rumor of Mandalorian coming to Blu-ray, physical copies.
I would love that. I'm such an old man. I want DVDs and Blu-rays.
I like having them.
Of everything.
Yeah, I like having them.
If I could talk my parents to coming down in a week or so, I'm going to tell them to bring like 20 DVDs with them. Just because so I can have them. I have Disney
Especially
Plus
Star Wars
like,
stuff.
Yeah. All my Star Wars movies except Episode 9 are in Indiana. I want them to bring the other 9 movies or 10 movies down with them. So if it's true, I'm buying those at Blu-ray at Best Buy when they come out.
Yeah, I love having physical copies of stuff, and I think it's cool.
It's only smart. Disney needs money right now.
That's
easy
People
money.
Will buy it. I mean,
we're gonna buy it.
We're completists. I mean, like I like having it. I can pull it out.
That's easy money. They
plus
should
bonus features and stuff. Like, give me
even
that.
if it's the same bonus features on Disney Plus, which I'm sure a lot of it will be.
No, give me other stuff.
I want other stuff too, but I'm sure they'll do that. But I want other stuff, but I'm buying that if it's true.
If it's true, I'm hoping it is true.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. We were already almost like at 2 hours, like an hour and a half. I think that's not a ton of news. I don't think did we miss anything? I was gonna do Disney or listener questions for Jim, but I just didn't want to get into all that.
Because we talked to him alone for 90 minutes.
Exactly. I wanted to ask him my questions.
That sounds selfish to you guys, to listeners.
But it's our show. We had him on for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find. There was one more news story that I wanted to get into. That's what it was. I saw this just a little bit ago. The Star Wars High Republic reveals its opening crawl.
There's an opening crawl
for
the
opening
books?
Crawl for the official opening crawl for the event.
Oh, okay. I was like, for what? Okay.
Let's see.
Does it say the dead speak?
No. The Jedi are living. We are less than 3 months away from the release of the High Republic, the new massive publishing campaign from Lucasfilm that will explore the galaxy around 200 years before the events of the Phantom Menace. January 5th, Del Rey is publishing the High Republic, The Light of the Jedi, and then the new novel from Charles Soule. Can't wait. I got that pre-ordered as well. Set in this time period, and Disney Lucasfilm Press is releasing The High Republic, Test of Courage, a new junior novel from Justina Ireland, and The High Republic, The Great Jedi Rescue is also being released that day, although we still don't know a lot about that title. But now on StarWars.com has released the official opening crawl for the event, which reads, "The galaxy is at peace, ruled by the... sorry. Zoom in there. I need glasses. The galaxy is at peace, ruled by the glorious Republic, and protected by the noble and wise Jedi Knights. As a symbol of all that is good, the Republic is about to... Sorry. As a symbol of all that is good, the Republic is about to launch Starlight Beacon into the far reaches of the Outer Rim. This new space station will serve as a ray of hope for all to see. But just as a magnificent renaissance spreads through the Republic, so does a frightened new adversary. Now the Guardians of Peace and Justice must face a threat to themselves, the galaxy, and the Force itself." All right. If that doesn't sound as generic as it can get, I don't know what to tell you.
It does, but they're going in the way of the hyperspace lanes and opening of hyperspace travel, which kind of ties into like Thrawn exploring the unknown regions, which also could tie into, if you believe crazy speculation, Mandalorian, season 2. So, I don't know. If it all ties in, it'll be cool. But if not, if it's another random Bantha chase, then whatever.
This is just more and more. I'm not caring about this.
Yeah. I'm going to read them. After I finish Aftermath, because I'm in that series now, I'm going to basically jump into High Republic, because it'll be about that time when it comes out.
Yeah. I got to finish Alphabet Squadron.
And Aftermath ties into Squadrons, so like I need to...
Yeah, it does.
I need to finish it so I can understand more of Squadrons.
But I don't know, man. I'm just...
Who's your favorite character in Squadrons so far? And like Ray Sloan doesn't count, like because she's other stuff.
I don't remember their names honestly.
The Trandoshan, Frisk.
Frisk is cool.
His name is Frisk. Like, come on.
I think it's a girl.
That's right. Yeah, I was like, is it
Frisk
a boy or a girl?
Frisk is a girl.
Right. I don't know.
Did you just assume her gender?
I did.
Asshole.
I did.
I also really like the rebel general who defected from the Empire, and I also like the person. I forget their names. Jones. I don't forget his name.
Not that deep in yet, so
I forget his name. But he's the black character, and then the woman who's the.
At first, just in visual glance, I thought that character was Saw Gerrera, but I'm like, he's dead, so it can't be Saw. Yeah. I know who you mean.
The female, I almost said First Order Imperial officer that he's kind of doing this tag and like game of cat and mouse with.
Yeah.
They're my favorites.
The Mon Calas are good in there too. It's not just Akbar. They have like 1 or 2 other Mon Calas.
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'm actually on that mission right now over Mon Cala, so I haven't gotten to that yet. But I'm digging it, man. It's a lot of fun. I'm not a gamer by any stretch, but It's really a fun game. That's how I can put it. The story is there, but it's not. I saw a review and it was like, I couldn't have said it better. It was like light on story but high on fun and thrill or something like that. It's a fun game.
So it's what Jedi Fallen Order should have been.
Yeah.
That story is great, but
it's
the
not
gameplay
great.
is not
it's
fun.
fine. I think it's fine. The more I think about it,
I can go with that too. Either way,
it's just
it's
fine.
not a bad story at all. But the gameplay,
it's literally like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Jedi survived Order 66, and then Vader shows up.
That's how Squadrons ends. Your pilot is actually a Jedi. He survived
really?
Order 66.
Oh,
yeah.
sweet. I can't wait to throw
Spoilers.
my controller into the screen. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Light on us, but heavy on Jim Hill, which is exactly what I wanted.
That's the way my life should be.
And thank you guys so much for listening. Evan, where can the good people find you on the internet?
Everywhere, Evan T. Boucher. I'm finally going back to Batuu Thursday, so look for another 500 pictures of Batuu.
I think
maybe
I'm
another
going.
vlog.
Wait.
We need to play Sabak soon. That might be a
Do I have
thing.
a reservation on Thursday at Oga's? Hang on. Your boy might have one.
Ah, yes.
And,
I've been trying for like 3 days.
Good luck.
I know. I can't.
Tough.
What's this new walk-up reservation?
It sucks. It doesn't. There's never anything.
I got
available.
excited. I saw it and I was like, ooh.
No, there's it. I've literally never seen it work whenever I've tried to use it.
Good news. That's what I need for 2020. Good news.
Thursday, October 8th, your boys got Oga's.
For how many people?
6 people.
I am not 6 people.
555. Are you going by yourself?
Yeah. Of
You
course.
are?
Yeah. I have no one else but you.
Well, that's not true, but I'll go. I'll be there.
You better be.
You want to go to Oga's and play Sabak?
Yeah.
Do a video on it?
Yeah.
Done. Yay. See, just like that. All right, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We will see you next. Oh, you didn't answer the question. Where can
I
people
did.
get
Evan T. Boucher.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I'm breaking out my Kylo saber. You bought one.
Ooh,
How you
I
liking
did.
that, huh?
It is.
Are you bringing your Kylo?
Well, not if you're bringing yours.
Oh, why not?
I'll probably bring my. I don't know.
Lame.
Maybe we'll see.
This is the first time I brought it back since I bought it.
Did I tell you my idea for a video that I want to do?
No.
I'll tell you off there because I think it would be a fun thing that could possibly go viral.
Throwing lightsabers at Kylo Ren.
Not necessarily, but you're close.
Okay.
All right, friends. You can follow me nowhere. Jedi Talk Podcast on Twitter. That's fine. Florida Fun Brad on Instagram. And definitely not on TikTok. But other than that, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back later this week, probably with another show. We'll see what happens. Thank you so much for listening. And again, thanks, Jim, for coming on the show. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Till then, may the Force be with you.
Always.